Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. For those of you who don't know, I started Grumpy Old Fart to express my political and social opinions and to say things that I felt needed to be said. Unfortunately, YouTube started giving me strikes. As a hedge against this happening, I have created backup YouTube channels, Grumpy Old Gamer and Grumpy Old Ufologist. I also created a channel called Grumpy Old Fart over on Rumble, a free speech alternative to YouTube. You can find all of my stuff there, including my political opinion and current events. The link to my Rumble channel, as well as links to let you order my books, are in the description of this video. If you enjoy my content, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I welcome your comments, even if you disagree with me. Now, on with the video. Hey there, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a military blunders video on the Battle of Agincourt, Agincourt. I've heard it pronounced Agincourt and Agincourt. I'm going with Agincourt. Excuse me. Something to drink. Gotta have good coffee in your life, you know what I mean? Alright. The Battle of Agincourt had long-reaching effects in both England and France. It established the legitimacy of the Lancastrian monarchy in England. It caused factions within France to go to war. Combined, these two effectively allowed King Henry V 18 months to gear up and invade France again, to great success. This particular battle took place during the 100 Years' War. Agincourt took place in a plowed field in northern France in 1415. During the 100 Years' War, King Henry V had been campaigning in France for several months and was en route back to Calais to re-equip and get reinforcements. His forces had been reduced to less than 6,000. Many of these were suffering from disease, and they had been wounded, they were weakened, that kind of thing. They were not in good shape. Seeing this, Constable Charles d'Albret, D''Albret, Charles d'Albret, mustered some 25,000 men, commanded by various lords, commanders, and nobles. He put them at Agincourt to block Henry's retreat. The French were convinced that their 3-to-1 superiority in numbers would give them an easy victory, and it should have. 3-to-1, they should have wiped the floor with them. Heavy rain, this is what killed them. Heavy rain had turned the plowed field into deep mud. And that was the impetus for their undoing. D'Albret began the battle with 2 completely inadequate cavalry charges. These 2 charges were broken up by English archers. So you got a deep mud in a field, and you send your cavalry across, which, by the way, is going to slow them down. And on the way over, the English are saying, "Oh, look, there's people to shoot at." Pap, 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 pap. Yeah. The English had the longbow, which was far superior to anything else on the battlefield at the time. These longbowmen were extremely accurate, and they were very, very effective. Here's another mistake that d'Albret made. Before the cavalry had returned, he launched a foot assault of 8,000 men-at-arms. So now you've got footmen slogging across this muddy field. When the cavalry fell back, they crashed into the French footmen. Excuse me. Still fighting that cold. You got to bear with me. As the French soldiers slogged through the deep mud, the English longbowmen enveloped them in clouds of arrows. This is essentially the same effect that the barbed wire had in World War I. I did a video on this on the Battle of the Somme. They stretch barbed wire across, and when the enemy comes across, they hit the barbed wire, they have to stop and cut it. Well, while they're standing still, the machine gunners just ripped them apart. Here, the mud slowed them down and kept them from moving quickly, and the English longbowmen just tore them apart. Same effect. The footmen were so tightly packed together that the English could hardly miss. And then adding to the debacle, D'Albret added even more troops to the mix. Curiously, he failed to make use of his own archers and crossbowmen. They weren't as good as the longbowmen, but they could have done something. The French did try an attack around the rear and threaten the English camp, but this was fought off. Henry then ordered the massacre of hundreds of French prisoners already taken to keep them from threatening his force. He didn't and a lot of people think this was bloodthirsty on his part, and maybe so. But look at it from his point of view. You've got 6,000 men. You're being threatened by a force of 25,000. You cannot spare the troops. And by the way, you're 6,000 men. Most of them, many of them are wounded and sick. You cannot spare the troops to watch the prisoners. You can't do it. It was a military decision. And I hate to say it, but I might have made the same decision. I don't know. It depends on the circumstance and the situation, but militarily, he may have made the right call. Was it mean and bloodthirsty? Yes. But so is war. When you're fighting for your life, you do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? The French suffered a catastrophic defeat, losing 8,000 men, including some 5,000 nobles. They lost 90 to 120 great lords and bannerets. D'Albret was also killed. The loss of these lords caused massive internal upheaval in France and was the impetus for infighting among factions of the French nobility. What D'Albret simply failed to do was pick terrain that would work to his advantage. Then he failed to work his strengths to take advantage of his enemy's weaknesses. He tried a hammer where he could have used a screwdriver, essentially. The areas on each side of Henry's path were wooded, hiding his cavalry and archers in the trees and presenting his footmen across the path on the other side of that field would have halted Henry's men. This is what I would have done. You got woods on either side of this muddy field. On the far side, away from Henry, you put your footmen. You put your cavalry, hide them in the trees along with your archers. Henry's plodding along, bebopping down the road. He hits this mud. He says, holy crap, there's a bunch of French footmen over there. We got to stop and figure this out. While he's figuring it out, the archers hit his men, who are exposed. The longbowmen would have had a serious issue firing back into the trees because the French would have had cover. Once the English figure out their problem and they turn to move a different way, that's when you send your cavalry and whack them. That's what I would have done. Never ever count your chickens before they hatch. My contention there would be, if you can get the cavalry behind him while he's at the mud, you could have forced Henry, to try to cross that muddy field. Then he would have been trapped in between the cavalry, the archers, and the footmen. You see what I'm saying? It would have been a game changer. D'Albret simply tried to pound on him until he died, and Henry was not an idiot, but it wouldn't have taken a genius to defeat that battle plan. That's all I'm saying. D'Albret screwed the pooch is what it boils down to. I hope this finds everybody well. And again, the reason I do these is because I do a lot of wargaming, and anybody who does wargaming can benefit from a study of history. This would be something to study. Just saying. Hope this finds everybody well. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.